You're laying on your bed, scrolling through your phone, having another boring day. You hope that Twitter will have a particularly funny day on the timeline while you're contemplating what to do with your life or what will make you happy. Suddenly, you get a text from your friend. They ask you to come hang out at the nearest coffee shop to chill and chat. Knowing that anything is better than what you're doing right now, you reply, "Alright, I'm down." You quickly get out of bed and get dressed, gather your things, and make your way to the shop. After ordering your favorite mocha, you sit down and start to catch up with your friend. As you start to get into the flow of conversation, each string of topics seems to get more interesting and you feel really happy during this moment. But you don't say this to yourself in your mind while it's happening. You're just there. Somehow, the conversation leads to you talking about how people are much more fearful of sharks in water than they should be, since they kill less people per year than literal lightning strikes. And that's when you suddenly remember where you are. In a coffee shop, talking to your friend. That snap back to where you are in time disrupts the conversation and you start to feel a little grim because you accidentally started thinking about this moment in which you are having a good time while trying to simultaneously experience the moment. You then start to realize that this moment in which all your worries and struggles and bills you have to pay went away will never last forever. Soon you'll be back on your bed, scrolling through your phone, feeling paralyzed until something like this gives you a reason to leave your house again. You try to snap out of this line of thinking, but it's already too late. After that point, the conversation just doesn't flow as well as it did a second ago. Eventually, things get boring and your friend tells you they have to get home to finish a paper they're writing and it's time to go. You say your goodbyes, make your way back, and find yourself in the exact same place you started with the same line of thinking as before. You were only happy when you didn't realize it. Does this story sound familiar to you? I know it does for me, especially when I'm at a party. When I unexpectedly think about the fact that I'm enjoying the party, I start to enjoy it less. It doesn't mean I'm not happy at all when I come to this realization, but it's quite impossible to achieve the level of joy that I was at just a minute ago when I realized that this moment will not last. The human curse is being bound by time. Knowing that you can't feel the emotion or the sensation that you're feeling forever is a depressing thought to most people. And we humans have amplified this so much to the point where wherever you look, you see a clock. It's on our phones, it's on our computers, it's next to our beds. It's inescapable at this point. We need time. It's basically the only way to function in our modern world. Without your alarm clock, you'd probably sleep in forever, miss your day of work, and get fired. Time is a constant reminder that you have to be somewhere soon, or that something is coming up, or that you have a deadline to complete. It's what makes us rush through life and be very past and future oriented people. Because let's be real here, most people are not actually here. So if time is inescapable in the modern world, what's the solution here? How can we get back to that point where we were in that fictional coffee shop or party, even though we need the one thing that's stopping us from getting there? It's not so much that you have to completely forget about time and the fact that it's a man-made construct. You just need to find ways and things that help to dispel the illusion of time. And in the process, you can't try too hard to do these things. I feel like I need to further elaborate on what I mean by the term "don't try," since it's such a common theme in so many of my videos. Let me give you a couple examples. The first is when I'm writing the scripts of these YouTube videos. I gotta tell you guys, this shit is pretty fucking hard. Writing is a battle you have within yourself to form sentences of meaning. So when I'm writing in any facet, I usually get into my head about how I can generate my next idea and keep the pace of the video or story going well. I'll think really hard about it until I eventually give up and I do one of these two things. The first being, I'll just try and write and see what happens, or I'll forget about it and come back to it. And in both of these scenarios, what I'm searching for usually comes to me naturally. When I try, it doesn't work, but when I don't try, it works. Another scenario in which this is clearly apparent is talking to people. If I don't try too hard to think about what to say, the conversation runs its course at a great pace. Just like in that fictional coffee shop, remember? At this point, the argument can be made that, oh, well, if some people didn't try, then they'd stay miserable with where they're at. Like, for instance, someone who's obese and cannot stop eating and has some sort of mental issue around food. Those types of people have to try and get healthy. It requires effort. And of course it does. But when that person tries too hard to become healthy, they get attached to an emotion that is rooted in time. That emotion being that they have to get healthy as soon as possible and that it is a difficult endeavor. And when they attach to that emotion, the likelihood of them getting to the point where they want to be at becomes much lower. The point I'm trying to get across is that there's a very clear distinction between just setting your intentions on something and then allowing yourself to do that thing without trying and making a strenuous effort to achieve something. And most people do the latter way too often with any of their goals or ambitions or any environment that they're in. Like imagine if you were at a concert and the band's goal was to complete the song. They'd all try to play their instruments as fast as possible to get to the end, and in the process they'd make something that can't even be considered music. Because music is the experience of a moment. Music allows you to lose yourself in that moment in which you are listening to it or playing it. It's something that will never be bound by time. So now, what are those things that help to dispel the illusion of time more? Well, the answer is practically anything, but it all depends on how you approach what you're about to do. For impulsive, time-oriented thinkers, start off with the basics, like getting into nature. All of my problems seem so much more insignificant when I decide to put my phone on Do Not Disturb and go into nature, even if it's for just 15 minutes a day, which I need to start doing more because I'm lower than 15 minutes a day. Nature is a reminder that most of the things you see on your phone are completely fake or unrelated to your actual problems, and that life is a pretty beautiful thing after all. Going for a bike ride with no particular destination can also help. Basically, you want to put yourself in more scenarios that don't require you to look at a clock, that aren't time oriented. But eventually, the more that you do this, you're going to get to the point where you can feel this same sensation in any task or anything that you're doing, really. When you start to simply do whatever it is that is assigned to you in the moment and you don't try too hard to do it, you realize that worrying about time is worrying about an illusion that isn't there. And the fact of the matter is that each moment is a fleeting, infinitely small thing that is simultaneously infinitely large that we call now. And the fact that this now is never constant, has no bounds, is the reason that those moments that make you so happy arise. So let's go back to the line of thinking that made us break the conversation in that fictional coffee shop. Most people in that situation, when they break the flow of conversation, would say to themselves, I wish that moment lasted forever. But no, you don't actually. Because then that moment that happened wouldn't feel that way. The only reason that moment feels worthy and valuable is because that moment is not going to last. So yes, use time, but don't become too attached to it. And don't try as much, just live. Because you are at your happiest when you're not thinking about trying to be happy. Shout out to all the patrons on this channel on Patreon that help support me. If you don't know what this is a platform separate from YouTube where I'm putting out exclusive videos and podcasts you can't find anywhere else. If you want to check that out, link is in the description. There will also be some sort of button you can press to get there right now. And that's it for this video. Take care. Hopefully that this helped you out a little bit, and have a good rest of your day or night.